about her professional guide us through considerations when entering the environment and climate workforce. She's done a lot of great work at the nexus of climate action, adaptation, and policymaking here in Vancouver. And as many of us are multidisciplinary in our approaches and have a lot of strong guiding values that are aimed towards change making, I hope that we can learn about how we can integrate those in our future job searches and applications from Angela. So thank you so much.
Right here, and then I'll get this. Okay. And then do I have to be anywhere in particular for the Zoom folks? Just like in this Just in this circle? Okay. Uh-oh, I wore the right clothes, but did I wear the wrong earrings? This was like a thing that came out during COVID. Like, I've always liked earrings, but like when we were in those boxes, I'm like, I just have to wear earrings and I'm dressed up. But sometimes they clack when on mics and things. Okay, you'll tell me if that's okay for the Zoom people. Okay. I'm gonna give a presentation and it's kind of framed on like this exercise that I do with students when they have questions about, what do I want to do? What are my values? What am I interested in? How do I figure this out? Do I have to know everything? So I kind of, it's a bit Oh, maybe it's just this old-fashioned one? No. Oh, so just go like that. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So before we get started, I want to acknowledge that, well, we're here today gathered on the traditional territories of the Musqueam peoples. And I do a lot of my work on the shared territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And so it's such a privilege to be here and doing this work. And I've been reflecting a lot on how at this phase of my career, since we're talking about careers, I've been working really hard to decolonize my practice and learn how, learn to see those colonial structures and biases come up and interrogate them. And it's been a journey. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've also learned a lot and it's been really wonderful. So just giving a lot of thanks to those people from the nations who have guided me as I go through this journey called work. Careers. Okay. I'll click. Okay. So here's a little bit of an agenda, just I'm going to take you a trip through time, how I got to where I am today, but also it's the first time I've kind of used this frame or method. So just if you have a question, just ask. This is a conversation. I don't need to be here talking, but we can just, if you have a question, let me know. So just wanted to say where it started. If you were to ask me where my career started, it's rooted in my values. And those values really came to me through experiences in my childhood and my youth. And this is a picture of me and my sister. Older, I'm up here, I'm older, she's younger, my dad, on an arbutus tree in nearby Galliano. It's a small island called Park Island. And growing up, we had a lot of family traditions of boating. It sounds glamorous. It was not. The boat broke down often, but in the land in the summers and shoulder seasons, and you had to, watch the water. You had to work against or you work with the tides. If you worked against the tides, that got you into trouble. And we had a lot of strong role models growing up. So my mom, she drove the boat and not women drove boats. And I would watch her interact with people, typically men, in marinas. And they're like, oh, is your husband going to go out there? And she's like, oh, no, he's not. And I drive the boat. And so just this combination of hanging out with, being out on the land, and strong role models really helped me develop these values. I'm going to walk over here if that's okay. Okay. And I just share this, like curiosity, creativity, community connections, leadership and impact, and responsibility. More on that later. And I just share that with you because like I still hold these, and it has only been, maybe I'll be flipping between time. It took me a while to like understand our values. These are my values, and I still hold what guides me to this day. They guide me in my career choices, in my collaboration choices, in what I do in professional life. And I feel like icky. It's often because of a tension, a misalignment between my values and what's being presented to me. And those who are like most of your grad students, maybe fourth year, but a lot of pedagogy, sorry. Like, so this, like a lot of this stuff happens when you're young. It's just, if you're interested in policy, like that's a pathway, like working with kids or youth, working on change. So I just share that. It took me a long time, probably up until 5 years, understand that connection directly between my values, what I do, and why my gut goes off and I trust my gut. And so my passions, youth, as a youth, turning over rocks was fantastic. It was amazing. And that made me like, that's tied to curiosity, but it made me really like develop this love and interest in marine science. In the 90s, when I was coming into my own way of being, the Clayoquot Sound protests were really big, and I just thought that was amazing that these people would risk their lives and their personal liberties to save the environment, and they worked with community. Newcomer family stories. My dad's side are first-gen Ukrainian Polish immigrants. And so like being with that community, like there were just all these stories of working hard, contributing well, you know, better for the second generation, that really stuck with me. And then theater. I got into theater, and like, I was a very shy person, but then theater changed that. But it helped me develop this interest in public speaking and speaking up. And I just share this because like your values come from a lot of different places. And it's not just the academic places, which I'm sure a lot of you know that, but I also just wanted to validate that in case anyone needed that, to hear that. It's just, yeah, I was having this conversation with someone at work yesterday, like, we're not robots, we're human beings, at work and like outside of work. Okay, I walk a lot. So I've just like, I assume, yeah, this will be like, you'll have this presentation later if you want. We're not gonna actually do this, but these are questions that I share with people when they're asking about their own values and interests. So a hodgepodge of a definition of what values are, and just questions like, what are your values? And you can think about that in terms of life experiences, what is important to you, what guides you. And then a similar question about, you know, what are you passionate about? Like, why have you signed up for the courses that you have? Why are you doing the research that you're doing? I can remember going to UBC first year bio, and then the prof being like, who's here to get into med school? And like 90% of the room put up their hands. And I was horrified because I was like, I'm gonna be a marine biologist. I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna do it because it makes me happy. So yeah, and it's an invitation to reflect on this after, or what. I will say that in my career now, I have now tested and practiced several times value planning or environmental stuff. Actually, if Dana Johnson is online still, I worked with her, and like we looked at like, how do you incorporate the lived experience of community members in Vancouver in environmental planning. And so we did that through the route of value elicitation, and just thinking like values are really important to integrate into our decision making, in addition to technical information, cost, operations and maintenance, what have you, performance. So I just wanted to share that. And so I just wanted to share, like, so like all that stuff from my youth. I was like, okay, marine science, okay, I like, you know, I don't know, being outside, I like community. I went to UBC to do my undergrad, graduated in 2001. And I came here not to get a job, to learn and build connections. And I wanted to pursue interests and learn to trust my, understand what that meant. I didn't know what was always going on, but I wanted to hone that. And I had for me, for other people, but it's like, it's just, I want to do that later. I would, you know, I'm aligned where I want to put my time and energy. I wish I had worked with mentors. I don't know if they had mentorship programs then. I wish my profs, I was incredibly shy and intimidated by them. I thought they knew every voice. And I wish I had participated in co-ops. They didn't have them at the time. But I wish I had, because it would have exposed me to a lot of different different types of employment in different projects. And I would have had just a better idea of what's out there. And I think I would have been less panicked. Because after my undergrad, well, I was like, I'm not going to grad school because I don't quite know what I want to do. And I went to a shark research station in the Bahamas, because I was working at a lab for an oceanography prof at the time. He's like, you should do this. You like to travel. But I didn't go to grad school until my early 30s. And so I kind of floated around work, and I applied to become a teacher because I didn't know what was there. And then I ended up getting a job at the City of Delta as an environmental technician. So I ditched my MEd program. I didn't even start it. But I would say what I was conscious of during uni, and I think this goes for undergrad or graduate, is that lab work, like practical skills in my head, lab work, experimental design, how to write. Does anyone know Bob Durady? The algae, he's retired anyways. Seaweeds, he taught seaweed classes. And he told us, I'm gonna teach you how to write, because scientists are terrible communicators and they're terrible writers. And I'm going to change that. I was like, okay. So through that and through and politics classes, I learned how to write, develop arguments, polish my critical thinking. So in terms of analysis and logic, how to work. I the land. I really thought it was like shove their hand in like a riparian area, and they're like, do you see this? Blah, 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 this happened, this. And I just thought that was cool. Yeah, I mean, these are just some of the interests that I came out of university, and I just share it because invertebrates and seaweeds need to be up there. And there's a thread to this, but I also found out what I don't like. I respect the people who do chemistry and biochem. It's important work. It's not for me. And that's great. And I also just wanted to show, like, at the time, and maybe this isn't meaningful for you folks because you're graduate students, so you're wise. But if you are TAing or working with undergrads, like, I just remember thinking, like, I can't like art history and feminism and politics. Maybe it was the early 2000s and we were all treating women terribly. Look at Christina Aguilera. But I just, yeah, that you can like multiple things and it can stay with you until you're mid-career. Anyway, so I'm just point through this. So as some of you are prepping for, life after your studies while you're here, and as you look for potential employers, think about what skills do you have now? And articulate those across the ways that you can. We were talking about it earlier, like your resume, your cover letter, the intake form for interviews, but also when you do info interviews and network, highlight those skills that you have, and also highlight the skills that you're curious about and that you want to grow. Talk to people who you think might have those skills, and talk to people who know more than you. That's fine. And then, yeah, just be present about what, have knowledge about what interests you. I think it's very powerful when you're like, I know that I like this, and you say it, and then you're like, okay, there's a concept, there's this thing that I like. Now I can move forward into finding out where is the next person who I need to talk to. Where are they? I can Google that and find them or whatever. Yeah, I just think networking is a really big and useful tool to figure out your next step. And this might seem obvious, where I'm confirming what you already know, and that's always a data input or a data point too. Okay. Early career, there she is, doing field work, 10 years. I really go out in the field now. So yeah, I guess I'm just saying, it's been my experience, when I was at the City of Delta for 10 years in their climate action and environment group, I went from environmental tech to a policy analyst to a senior policy analyst that ran the team. And we did everything because we were a small city and there were 3 of us. And in 2007, 2008, climate change happened in the province of British Columbia. It literally happened, you guys. It was hey, the premier at that time, Gordon Campbell, he had met Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was the governor of, I know, it was so weird back then, but now you're this is actually, could I go back to that? He met Schwarzenegger, and Schwarzenegger was he's a climate advocate. And Arnie sold Gordon Campbell on climate, and Gordon Campbell brought it back and said, all right, everyone, we're doing climate change. We're doing climate change. Local governments, you're doing climate change. Hey, there's this thing called carbon tax. We're going to introduce it. Oh my God, it'll never work. And so I added that to my plate. And I'm just saying, I was very much in that, yes, you want me to do what? Yes. I still have the post-it note from my former boss who, I'm like, Vern, can I have the climate file? He's like, sure, let me get it, because he still had folders. He gave me 2 folders and a post-it note that wrote, careful about what you wish for in it. I'll have that to frame it. I'm just saying, it was a great time in early on in my career to say yes to everything, to go get coffee if we were doing a community event. Set up chairs, yes, I will do that. Take notes, yes, I will do that. Translate data sets into some report, for sure. And it just helped me build skills, meet people. I didn't always know what I was doing. I wasn't always the right person to do it, but I did it. And it helped me translate my skills and insights into expertise. And that's what I'm saying, this is when you're I started building my expertise and understanding how to take initiative. And I just highlight these things, when you're out, in looking for employment, those are the 4 things I'm always looking for. Do you know how to take initiative? Tell me an example. What did you do? How did you do it? And what was the impact? Give it to me in a minute. Can you communicate and write? When you think of emails, we're just sending notes to each other all day. We are writing big novels. It's telenovelas, all day. and there's miscommunication because we're writing like wrong. Like we could pick up a phone, like learn how to, like, we need to be more human about it. So know how to communicate and write, know how to project manage and process stuff, like data, photos, whatever. And then problem solving. We'll never have enough resources. We'll never have enough people. So learn how to like problem solve. And you can do that through collaboration. Early on in my career, that was a big thing. So these are just some like how I developed my interests, and then like how that kind of like went into expertise too. Like I didn't like they didn't teach climate change in university and I feel so old saying that. I'm not, but we just didn't talk about it. But I would say early on in those 10 years, what I learned a lot about was leadership, bog ecology, and restoration, which would then translate into my employer supporting my master's. And so that's when I went back to grad school and I did a master's in ecological restoration and bog. Of expertise and skills and networks. I also learned that I prefer government to the private sector. And that was a lot with my values, building, like responsibility, creativity, stick with me, government creativity. I know, but look at my earrings, they allow government. But I just feel like more aligned in government because you're ultimately working for the community. You're working to make an impact. You are in this unique position of influence where you bring in people from other organizations in the community, and like bring in their lived experience and change the system. And I'm interested in systems thinking and how to change. Private sector, totally cool. Love my private sector colleagues and family members, like a lot, but it's just a little too, I don't like that type of competition. I don't like fighting for my meal, as we say it, like you have to win work and you don't always win work. So that was just something that wasn't for me. What other stories? Yeah, I figured out how government works and how to navigate it, how to go into stealth mode when you work for a conservative government, like the city of oh, I almost slipped. Delta is, I can say that I grew up there. And how to say yes when I didn't know 100% and keep a learner's mindset. And then just some other nuts and bolts things. So it was really interesting at that time in Delta, just doing a lot of everything, invasive plants, like EVs, like adaptation to sea level rise. And I started to like be like, okay, I think I know where I want to focus and change. And so that got me to the city of Vancouver, or that brought me. And so again, these are just questions you can take with, and perhaps they help you with like figuring out what to do next in terms of career charting, like what paths, who do you want to work for? I can talk to you about the difference between province, fed, local government if you're interested. How do your values align with your responses? So your values personally and professionally can be used planning principles, but also criteria to evaluate decisions by. So this is where you can practice personally, but also professionally. I stole these hip waders from Delta when I left. I haven't worn them except this one time for a photo shoot at the city. So now I'm like solid middle management at the City of Vancouver and the sustainability group. Such joy. It is great. I work with a great team. And we work on adaptation to 5 climate hazards, and we're responsible for implementing and monitoring climate our climate across. So we support action only, plan, do, act on equity and reconciliation. At this stage of my career, I'm really focused on support and my team and across the organization. I'm looking hone my craft. I feel like I'm in editing mode. I'm like, I've, was part of like, say, 5 networks on sea level rise. And now I'm like down to 1 because I just want to like, just focus on impact and quality. Looking to develop my leadership skills and practice because I have a bigger team, and how I can use my point of and position of power in our little group, like being the city, to constructively disrupt. And I still want to stay connected to the ocean and seaweed because it's really important to me. And as part of my training, like we do work plans, and part of my training, I'm going to do a 4-day workshop on marine ecology of like the North and Central Salish Sea with the Marine Education and Research Society in May. So like, and yeah, so that's just great. Just showing that you don't have to give it up. That's the point of this. And so these are just some things, like, I'm just gonna maybe tell you. I remember my mom telling me that. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I think I was like 16 or 17 or something. And she's like, your career will be long. Take the summer off. And I'm like, okay. She was right. Yeah, it's gonna like, yeah, it's gonna be a long time. And so that's great because there's different chapters in your career, and I have to pick the best one. You don't. You have to pick the best one for now. I mean, have some strategy about that. You can switch jobs. This year I had my work plan and I had a year planned out, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities invited me to join a delegation to Tunisia to speak at a women and climate conference, not on my bingo card. And that was based on my work on sea level rise 2 years ago, where I was working with an Indigenous cultural advisor, a knowledge keeper. We're creating, it's called the City Design Challenge. We worked with youth and all this. They've seen it and they're like, the theme is water. They don't need like solutions or you to fix anything. They just want to hear from a colleague about approaches to working with youth, incorporating lived experience into a technical project, and working with Indigenous peoples. And so I went and I got to meet 40 women from the Maghreb, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania, and Libya. Half of them were elected. And it was like an amazing experience for me. Like, and we're going to do some more work. And it just really helped. Just helped me remember the importance of making space for women, quiet leadership in these conversations about climate change, and how the global North needs to remain accountable to the global South with the climate crisis. To summarize, I've been partnering for the last 3 years living water with climate and kelp. And that's been really fruitful, in working with master's students. And I would just, slogging it out in government. It is a slog. Progress is not linear. And I get a lot of questions. They're like, oh my God, government sucks. And I'm like, it doesn't suck all the time. Is it slow? Yes. Do we have ridiculous like policies about, I don't know, IT? Yes. But when we do make change, it's very durable. And so hopefully, we're working for the good. And I have to say, like, I was attracted to the City of Vancouver because of the Greenest City Action Plan, because of all the leadership that has come from that city. I talked about Sea to City coalition building. That's like just developing skills on how to work with others across the city to plan and deliver our adaptation strategy. And just looking to really like get into the minutia of like, how do you lead a team and how do you build culture in your workplace? Because we spend a lot of time at work. It should be joyful. And also working in climate, as I'm sure a lot of you know, working in climate or environment can be, there's a lot of emotional labor. It's very depressing right now, right? But there is still room for hope. Like there is still a lot of space out there that people can take up, and there's still a lot of positive change to make. So yeah, just having to deal with that. And then, yeah, this is just like, yeah, some final thoughts on this, yeah, I wanted to show like how I got here. It wasn't a linear like, oh, I took this course and I did that and then I got that job. It kind of showed like I think, yeah, reflecting on how I got here was really rooted in that child experience, my childhood, and then decisions I made throughout my training and so just these are some final thoughts, a bit philosophical. But yeah, I didn't always know where I was going, but I knew what, and that was because I had the commitment. I knew that. Keep asking why, stay curious, let that guide you, and really think about what skills and expertise you want to build and invest in. And always a sense of humor and humility. Say yes to setting up rooms, say yes to taking notes. And I just said, this is cheesy, I won't fully read it, but I remember like the city manager at Delta asking me once, like, what's your 5-year plan? And I do think in 5-year plans, like I have ideas of that. But I answered, I'm like, to be happy, to be challenged, and to be making a difference. If I've got that, I'm good to go. And he was like, damn, that's a good answer. And I was like, yeah, like, out you go. And I'm like, okay, fine. So yeah, I just share that. That has me well. And yeah. It was helpful. Happy to have a chat about questions and things. Yeah. To end it, or I'll just leave it there. Okay, cool. Now you can ask me, like, what is it like to work in government, or I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
Basing myself on your last sentence, in your job right now, what is keeping you happy? What is keeping you challenged, and what